This special edition of Inside the Chamber is brought to you in part by presenting sponsor BG Advisors CPA, certified public accountants and business advisors.
If you're just tuning in, you are watching Inside the Chamber, and I'm your host, Kaylin Risvold, President and CEO of the Naperville Area Chamber of Commerce. Now joining me is Isha Elandassery. Welcome, Isha.
Thank you for having me.
Isha is one of our 4 Under 40 award recipients, actually our youngest ever. And I want to start by having you just tell us a little bit about what you've done and kind of what you're looking to still do.
So I'm a recent high school graduate from Naperville North High School, and I'll be attending Indiana University in the fall. Recently, I served as chair of the high school network of the Naperville Area Chamber of Commerce. We build relationships between chamber businesses and the youth of Naperville through professional development activities, as well as a mentorship program, which you and me brainstormed together, of having high school students have the opportunity of having a mentor of an industry that they're interested in. So I think it was pretty successful this year. I also recently, last December, started Naperville Rising Women in Business, so a community of high school girls in our Naperville area to build leadership skills as well as habits to prepare them into strong female leaders that could hopefully break that glass ceiling. So those are just some of the activities that I do in Naperville, but I also have a small public safety startup in the side called Salus Security, which is just a public safety startup to help college students with a discreet emergency wristband, and I'll be continuing with that project with my team at Indiana in the fall.
Wow, that is absolutely fantastic. And you mentioned something I want to talk about, which is mentorship.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about who is your inspiration and who are your mentors and people guiding you along the way.
So I've always been a fangirl of Rebecca Multake-Meslin. Before I even met her, her LinkedIn post came up. And I was just a huge fan of her speaking and her passion. And this was in the early stages of starting Naperville Rising Women in Business, and I was looking for someone that could share that passion with me. And coincidentally, I met her at an event, and I was so shy to speak to her. I was like, I'm not going to go speak to her. This is so scary. But I went up and we spoke for like an hour, and we just clicked right away. And she's a huge inspiration to me, especially for her running for office in Naperville was really a big thing, and I respect her for that. And I really do value the connection we share, and I look up to her. My forever mentor is always my dad. I love him. But I do want to shout out my business teacher at Naperville North High School, Mr. Nolan. He's the one who really saw my early potential in junior year, and I really value that from him. He supported me and my team. He drove 2 hours to Illinois Wesleyan to support us for a pitch competition, and I really value him, and I always look up to him for that as well.
And you mentioned support. What are some attributes you see in leaders that you think are most valuable?
I think there are 3 attributes in leaders in my journey. I think the first one is being visionary. I want to quote my business teacher, Mr. Nolan. He always says, always have the end in mind. So if you don't have the end in mind, I feel like that passion, that ambition, and that drive isn't there. But if you do have that goal or a vision, you're kind of fighting for something. You're looking for getting to achieve that goal. The second one is listening and learning to ask questions. This is kind of like that basic skill they teach in elementary school, but I think it's really useful to understand. Particularly for me, mostly because of my age, I had to ask a lot of questions because that's the only way I could get the best answer. And I think it's really imperative for everyone to ask questions because a lot of people have a misconception that leaders should know everything. And I had that too. I should know everything if I'm leading a project, but that's false. By asking the correct questions to anyone, I feel like it's really important. And finally, learning. Again, this might be from my age, but I think everyone can benefit from learning and keep on learning. And also people have a misconception that you can only learn from people that are older than you. But I learned actually from a junior in high school who goes to Central. Her name's Athena Chen. And I remember observing her leadership style, and I took a lot of takeaways from that because it was something that I really admired. And I learned that day is that I can learn from people that are younger than me as well as older than me. I can learn from different backgrounds and so many different people. And I think that's a skill that is really important and to keep on learning and growing.
Speaking of learning, what's one book that you would recommend?
I love this book, and I'm sure you've heard of it, How Women Rise. And I think it's not only just beneficial for women, it's a book about 12 habits to build yourself into a leader, and that can prepare you for breaking that ceiling. And I think it's a great book for men as well as other genders to understand what the limitations that women have in the workforce, but also they're great habits for anyone. Like, I was telling my dad about these habits, and I thought they were just really strong core habits that you can take to whatever you need.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Congratulations, and we look forward to continuing to support your success.
Thank you so much for having me.